What's up, you guys? I hope you are doing good today. I kind of wanted to start off this video with a more relaxed feel because I know that the one thing that can cause the most anxiety is talking about money. And honestly, if you have the same types of anxieties that I did over money, what I would really recommend you do is to look more into this whole concept of budgeting. If you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Eshi. I do a ton of DIYs, personal finance videos, and a little bit of travel. So if that interests you, consider subscribing. To address something right off the bat, I know you're gonna have questions about this. Yes, the picture frames behind me don't have actual pictures in them. Long story, we've been in this apartment for like 2.5 years. Still hasn't happened. At this point, we're just gonna pretend that that's what I meant to do and that it's a cool new modern art piece, but yeah, I totally haven't put pictures in my picture frames. What budgeting has really done for me, and what I hope this video inspires you to do, is plan out your future. Obviously, everyone has different priorities, and you may not have the same privileges that I have been lucky enough to have. You may have different priorities than I do, but whether you want to just provide a stable structure for your family, or if you want to buy $1 million house or a yacht, whatever it may be, those things are not going to be handed to you. So it's really up to you to plan for your own success. And that is what budgeting has helped me to achieve. What I do not want you to leave this video feeling is worse about yourself or worse about your financial structures, because we're all in different places in our life and we all have different priorities, and that is totally okay. But what I want you to get out of this video is that you can start planning right now for your success in 2022. So go watch this video, hit the like button and maybe subscribe. And then I want you to go write down a couple things that you really want to do this year, whether it's personal finance related, maybe it is health related, personal life related, whatever it is. Write down a couple of those things and think about how you can achieve those goals maybe little by little every single month. And honestly, that is what budgeting is all about. So today I am going to show you my 2022 budget. I did just put up a video about all of my general 2022 goals, and if you haven't seen that, I will leave the link right here. But in today's video, I will really show you how I put those goals into practice with actual numbers. So you will see all of my number breakdowns for everything: income, expenses, saving goals, all of that fun stuff. So let's jump right into it. So I'm gonna walk you through how my budget sheet is set up really quickly so you understand what I'm looking at. And if you see me looking down, it's because I have my laptop right in front of me. I have an overview of my expenses, I have an overview of my income, as well as my savings, and then I have a summary tab that kind of puts everything together. And then I also have a net worth tab that I kind of like to keep track of month to month. Within every single tab, all of the orange numbers are gonna be my budget, and next to it, you'll see a couple blank columns because that's where my actual numbers are going to go. So I can compare my budget versus my actual right next to each other as I go on through the year. So I break everything down by month. All of the rest of these tabs are in-depth looks at all of my expense, income, and savings categories. So I'm gonna start with income because that's the big positive number of money coming in, right? So without income, you can't really spend for your expenses and you can't save money at all. So let's start there. If you're curious to what I do, I work fully remote. I am an HRS analyst, which is just a fancy way of saying that I do a lot of back-end stuff for the HR systems that your company uses. Basically just boring desk job stuff. So for my income, I am a salaried employee. I get paid twice a month, and it is a very regular paycheck, and I'm super grateful for that. So what I've done is I've taken my annual income and I have split it by month. So you can see that my salary here is $8,750 per month. Now don't worry, that is the pre-tax number, so there are a lot of deductions that go into that number. I am not seeing my $8,750 every month. Definitely not. I'm seeing a lot less than that. In the month of January, I know that I was going to get a sign-on bonus because I recently just started with a new company, so that's where that $5,000 is coming from. Again, pre-tax, because this is not where I put my taxes. And the other categories I have for income are if I get any gifts, or I know a couple years ago we got a stimulus, so that's what that category is for. I have budgeted $0 every single month for that because I don't expect to get any gifts or a stimulus package. And the last thing I do put into my income is savings interest, because I do get a little bit of savings from my savings account. So I just budget about $10 a month for that. Now, as I go across the months, and I'm looking again at the orange numbers because those are my budgeted numbers, there's not much fluctuation here because I expect to get regular paychecks. So really, from January to December, I'm getting the same salary. I'm not counting on any other further bonuses because, again, I am a new employee at my current company. You can see in my budget at the very end, I have a couple totals and averages columns. So I'm expecting to make $105,000 for my salary total. My bonus total is going to be $5,000. And then my savings interest total is going to be about $120,000. So that is the influx of money that I expect this year. That's the money that I can really use towards my expenses and my savings goals, right? So that is what we're going to work with. The other thing I wanted to quickly point out is that everything on my income tab was in positive numbers, and then everything in my expenses tab is going to be put in negative numbers. This may be my accounting background coming into play here, but the way it works is that positive numbers means that there is an influx of cash, and negative numbers means that you are spending that cash, if that makes sense. When I put it together all in my summary tab, it just makes everything easier for me to see. I'm gonna make my way over to the expenses tab next. So this is really where I categorize all of my expenses. So up at the very top is my rent category because I do not own a house and I will be renting for all of 2022. When it comes to rent, I split everything 50-50 with my boyfriend Chumley. We live in an apartment in Detroit, so here are the numbers for that. We have a rent and admin fee of $893. Our utilities are about $35 a month, electricity is about $90, renter's insurance is about $10 a month, and then internet is $35 a month. Now we are hopefully planning to move to San Diego near the end of March. So these numbers are actually not going to stay consistent throughout the year. So I did the best I could in guesstimating what our numbers are going to be in San Diego from April till the end of the year. And in March, we'll still mostly be in Detroit. So I used all of my Detroit budget numbers and added a little bit extra in case we had to start paying for that second apartment in San Diego towards the end of March. So you'll see what I mean. So in March, you can see that I upped our rent and admin fee budget from $893 all the way up to $1,393. And you can see in that formula, that is because it is my Detroit number of $893 plus an extra $500 in case we are also paying for that San Diego apartment, maybe for the last 2 weeks of March. And what you will see is that our rent is going to skyrocket in San Diego because it's San Diego. There are a couple numbers in my budgets that are equally going to skyrocket because I know our cost of living is going to really go up. And then there's some other things that are going to stay pretty consistent. So we'll talk through those. Everything else in this category for March, I kind of kept the same because I wasn't really sure if we were going to start paying for utilities, electricity, internet, all of that stuff in our San Diego apartment just yet. When it comes to April, that's when you're going to really see the true San Diego budgeted numbers come to play. So when it comes to rent, I am estimating that I'm going to be spending $1,980 in rent. God, that hurts to say. When it comes to San Diego, you really pay that sunshine tax. Not to mention, we have some high standards for apartments, so it's a little bit of San Diego and it's a little bit of us. So I'm ready, not necessarily willing, but I'm ready to pay that fee. I estimated that our utilities are going to go up, and I actually estimated that our electricity is going to go down a little bit. It just seems like we'll be using less heat or air conditioning because we love San Diego weather, so we'll see how that works out. I estimated that renter's insurance and internet are going to be around the same cost. So we'll see how that goes for my budget when we actually move. I'm sure I'll get better numbers when we're over there. And when you really take a look at some of those totals for rent, oh my gosh, it really kind of kills me, because if you look in just the rent and admin fee category, it's going to be about $21,000 that I am personally spending in 2022. I know it's crazy, and I know you guys are going to be like, get a house, what are you doing? I get it, I totally get it, but you know, right now I don't have those priorities. I do not want to buy a house. I don't want to settle in Michigan or even in San Diego. It's not like we can afford a house in San Diego. We need a couple more years to save up for a house, so that's the cost of living right now. So the next category I have is health, and that is all things health insurance, dental insurance, co-pays, medicine, and actually this year we're probably going to switch over to my health insurance through my company. So with that, we're probably going to open up an FSA for the first time. So all of that is going to be seen in my health expense category. Currently, I have health insurance through Chumley and Chumley's workplace. So you'll see those numbers reflected in my January budget. So health insurance is going to be $172, dental is $26, and I didn't really budget for any copays, medicine, or the FSA because we don't have an FSA through his workplace. Now again, we're not really sure when we're going to switch health insurance, so I just started budgeting for that in February. The numbers do go down because we are probably going to do the high deductible plan over on my health insurance when we switch, along with that FSA, so the numbers will be reflected here. Again, these numbers are going to be taken out of my paycheck, so out of that income number that you saw before, these numbers are directly going to be deducted, but I do like to keep track of all of those numbers on my expense tab instead of just having a lower income number on that tab, if that makes sense. So for health insurance, it's going to be $72 a month, $19 for dental insurance. I didn't really budget for any medicine or prescriptions just yet. I did budget for copays, which are going to be around $50 a month, and then we're going to try and contribute about $30 a month for the FSA. So the FSA hopefully will be able to pay off some of the medicine, but again, we'll see how it goes. And again, those are the numbers that are going to be from February all the way through December. They're going to be those same numbers. So in 2022, again, with my totals and my averages for health, I am budgeting about $2,077 for all things health related in 2022. Next up is food. So again, this is really going to change when it comes to San Diego. Because I've been really keeping track of what we've been spending in Detroit, I have a good basis to budget off of when it comes to groceries, eating out, and drinks. So for January and February, I am budgeting about $250 for groceries, $60 for eating out, and $15 for drinks. So a total of $325 for food for January and then for February. When it comes to March, that's again when we are hoping to move to San Diego. So the numbers are going to be a little bit higher, and so March all the way through December, my budget is $300 for groceries. Eating out is going to stay the same at $60, and then drinks I have kind of upped to $30 a month, because I just have a feeling when we get to San Diego, obviously we don't want to just seclude ourselves from experiencing what San Diego has to offer. So I figured the eating out budget would stay the same. We're not going to be eating out a lot, but the drinks budget I did up a little bit because obviously we're going to be going out to bars and to hang out with friends. So moving on to my category called apartment. So this is separate from rent. So I'm talking about furniture and decor, supplies, that's like toilet paper, cleaning supplies, things like that. Plants, yes, I have a category for plants. And then there is moving, because this year, since we're moving, there's going to be a lot of costs associated with that. And I've lumped it all into apartment. So the only thing I budgeted for in January and February for this category is $30 for supplies. And that's because the numbers are really going to shoot up in March, April, May while we get settled in San Diego. So I kind of want to just be really tight with my budget in January and February. So in March, you can see that the furniture / decor budget is up to $2,000. Yikes. And again, it's going to be $1,000 in April and $1,000 in May. And that's only because we're hoping to get a second bedroom in San Diego, so there's Obviously going to be some furniture costs associated with that, and we're probably going to get a new couch, potentially a new rug, so really things are adding up here. Don't worry, we're going to talk about how I am saving up money for that in a bit. The other thing that's going to probably shoot up for us is the supplies budget, so I've put that to $50 a month starting in March all the way through the end of the year. My plant budget is $10 a month from March till the end of the year. And my moving budget, I only estimate that I'm going to be spending money on the actual moving costs in March and April. So I have put that to $2,000 in March and $1,000 in April. So we'll see how that goes. I'll let you guys know all of our moving costs. I'll probably make a separate video about that on the moving personal finance side of things. My next category is kittens because I have 2 rambunctious 1.5-year-old cats. So my subcategories for that are food, supplies, medical expenses, and pet insurance. Small plug for pet insurance because it is oh so helpful if your pets ever need to go to the vet for any emergency procedures or anything else. Get pet insurance for your pets. So my budget for that isn't going to change throughout the year because I get all of their food from Chewy.com, so it's not like those prices are gonna go up. I get all of my supplies, so like litter and other things like that. Those costs don't really change depending on your location. Medical expenses, pet insurance, again, don't really change based on your location. So those numbers are $70 for food every month, $60 for supplies every month. I'm budgeting $10 for any medical expenses that come up, and pet insurance for 2 cats that I cover myself, that's $44 a month. So again, if we want to look at the totals, I am going to spend $2,208 on my kittens for the year of 2022. Next up is transportation, and I lump in parking, gas, any Ubers, Lyft, scooters, things like that, all within transportation. Again, I kind of budgeted that these numbers are going to change once we hit San Diego. So my numbers for January, February, and March are $75 for parking. We park in our apartment's garage, so that is set. $50 for gas a month, and then $0 for any Ubers, Lyfts, and scooters while we're in Detroit. When it comes time for our first full month in San Diego, that's going to be April. So the numbers there are going to be $20 for parking. This is an estimate based on the apartment building we're looking at, so we're gonna hopefully park our car in that apartment building. Gas, I'm estimating, is going to be a little bit more expensive, so $60, and then $20 for Ubers, Lyfts, and scooters a month. And that's because I have a feeling we're going to be scootering a lot of places, because San Diego is obviously a lot more walkable than Detroit, that's for sure, but there's also a lot of scooters lying around everywhere, and I've realized every time we vacation in San Diego, that was kind of our best method of moving around, so I just wanted to budget a little bit for that. My next category is tech, so this is phone bill, phone repairs, computer purchases, all of that fun stuff. This is not really going to change based on our city location, so what I've budgeted every month is $40 for our phone bill, $5 for any repairs, and $5 for any purchases. So repairs may be, a new screen protector for my phone when I eventually crack my screen protector, or a new phone case if I ever need that. So when it comes to shopping, I am trying to be more frugal in the months leading up to San Diego because I just have a feeling we're going to spend a little bit more money there. So for January, February, and March, for clothing and shoes, I am budgeting $0. I'm not gonna spend anything on clothes these 3 months. For makeup, that's more of a cost that's not going to really change. So $50 for that. I budgeted $20 a month for hair/grooming. So that's like all of my curly hair products or even getting a haircut. So in the gifts category, I actually talked about this in my previous 2022 goals video, which I have left a link for, but I am specifically budgeting for a couple different birthdays. So I'm going to budget $50 in April, $50 in June, $50 in August, $100 in September. Gifts are another area where I am going to be saving specifically for those, so stay tuned for that saving goal. So that's going to cover a couple of the birthdays I know that are going to be coming up. And then in my other category, I've just budgeted about $5 because you never know what other random things that we're going to get every month. Subscriptions are a little, I would say, all over the place because some subscription costs pop up in different months. So the only thing that's really consistent is my Netflix subscription, which is split amongst a couple people, so that's $3 a month for me. HBO Max, which we just got this year, I have only budgeted to spend money in January because me and Chumley are going to split that cost. My Chase Sapphire expense is going to be coming up in March, and I am estimating that Chumley and I are going to split that cost because we both use my card. And then for his American Express, that's going to pop up in June. So again, Chumley and I are going to split that cost because again, we both use his credit card as well. I have another category for dance related expenses because I am a Bollywood hip hop fusion dancer. So occasionally I will travel to judge Bollywood dance competitions. And so in February, I have $50 in my budget for that. I do have subcategories for class and video production because occasionally I may go to a dance class, definitely not during COVID, or I may spend a little bit of money on a video that I'm trying to put together, but I have budgeted $0 for that because I don't really know when that's gonna pop up, so we'll figure it out as it goes. Then there's entertainment. So I have movies, sports, events, and other as my subcategories. And really the numbers are kind of consistent. So I have $5 for events and $5 for other budgeted, just so we can have a little bit of extra money in case we decide to go out and do something. I have added on a budget of $20 for sports starting in April because I have a feeling that we are going to want to join an indoor volleyball league when we get to San Diego, so I've just kind of budgeted for that. I do have a category called content creation for my YouTube supplies if I ever buy those, or my DIY supplies. I have $0 budgeted in that because I'm hoping that if I do purchase any DIY supplies, I make back that money in the furniture that I end up selling for a profit. So I generally just don't budget for this because I don't have any good estimation on these numbers. When it comes to a car, so I personally do not have a car. I am not leasing a car either. We actually have Chumley's one car that he has purchased himself that we use between the two of us. So that's really what I am thinking about in this category. So car insurance, I'm going to be helping him with his car insurance this year. So that's going to be $750 in June and then again in December. I know I'm going to have to renew my license when we get to California, so I have budgeted $40 for that in April. And then when it comes to moving, I added a line item here under car because I know getting his car from Detroit to San Diego is going to cost some money, so I've put $1,000 for that in March. Now vacation, this is the category that makes me kind of sad because in previous years I have budgeted for a vacation, but in 2022, because we are moving to San Diego, we have decided that we're not going to go on any major vacations in 2022. So all of my categories for vacation, travel, stay, food and drinks, entertainment, and other, it's going to be $0 budgeted for all of 2022. And then second to last is donations. So I do like to make donations as a form of a gift for people's birthdays. So I have that budgeted as $50 in April, $50 in June, and $100 in December around the holiday time because again, we like to do donations for birthdays and also for those holiday gifts. And then my last category is taxes because like I said before, that income that I was talking about earlier, there are a lot of taxes that get taken out every single month before I even see a cent of that money. And so I do like to keep a taxes category under my expenses because I like to budget for it. I like to see, monthly averages because at the end of the day, there are taxes being taken out of my 2 paychecks per month, but also we're filing taxes at the end of the year. So I like to see if I estimate that I'm going to get any money back or if I think I'm going to have to pay extra money towards the end of the year. I'm not going to really go through all of my numbers here because it's really based on my income level and, those federal and state tax rates. I will point out though that for February and March, some of my rates are going to be lower, specifically in the state withholding category because I am in Michigan. When I move over to California, they have higher tax rates there, so I will definitely be taxed more through my paychecks. So I can't wait to get paid less then. And then we finally get to, honestly, my favorite tab. It's all of my savings. Now, typically, I would recommend to someone that you keep your savings goals very similar month to month. but because I am planning on moving to San Diego and all of our numbers for our expenses are going to be a little bit different every single month, my savings goals are not the same every single month. So what I did instead was I wanted to make sure I had a total by the end of 2022, or even for some of my longer term savings goals, I had a total number in mind for when I wanted to have that money by. And that's kind of how I figured, okay, how much can I really put into those savings goals month after month? So again, you're gonna see the numbers are kind of all over the place in my savings goals, but some of those key numbers we're going to look at are the totals for 2022. So my major categories for savings are my short-term sinking funds, my long-term sinking funds, and my investments. So short-term sinking funds, really what that means is that I am saving up money into these accounts that I know I'm going to use during the year. For example, moving fund, I am putting money into that fund as much as possible every month leading up to when I'm actually going to use that money. So I'm going to take that money out of that fund to use towards moving all of our stuff across the country, moving our car across the country. So you'll see in January and February, I have a positive number there because I'm actually going to keep that money with me. So I'm going to put $1,000 in a specific account in January, then I'm going to put another $1,000 to use in February, and then in March it says negative $2,000 total, but that's because I am going to be, again, putting $1,000 into that account in March, but then I'm going to also use up $3,000 from that account because in March we're going to be moving, so we're going to need that cash in that month. And then again in April, at that point, we're going to have $1,000 saved up still in that account, and we're going to use up that $1,000, I'm sure, for another moving expense. So that's kind of why you see positive and negative numbers. And then for the rest of the year, I'm not putting anything into that moving fund or using any more money. You'll see something similar in the decorating apartment fund. So again, I'm putting money into that account so that I can use up that bucket of money later on. So in January, I'm putting $800 into that account. In February, $800, in March, $800, but it's a total of negative $1,200 because I plan on using about $2,000 in March for all of the new furniture for the apartment. In April, again, I'm putting $800 towards that savings goal, but I'm going to use up $1,000 or about $1,000 in April. And then in May, again, I'm going to put in $800, but then I'm going to use up the remaining total $1,000. And then for the rest of the year, I'm not going to put in any more money or use up any more money. Hopefully. My car insurance fund is to pay for the car insurance that I'm going to be using for Chumley's car during the year. So every month I'm going to try and put in $125 for that. And then in June, you can see it's a negative total number because again, I'm saving up $125 for it, but then I'm going to use $750 for that car insurance payment. Same thing in December, I'm going to be putting in $125, but then I'm going to use up $750 for that payment. My wedding weekend fund is just something I wanted to start to see if I can save up a little bit of extra cash just in case we do decide to have a wedding fun weekend where everyone comes over to San Diego to visit us in 2023. So I'm putting about $80 towards that every month, 80 to 100, and I'm gonna try and have a total of about $1,000 saved up by the end of 2022. My gifts fund, again, that's going to kind of fluctuate. I'm going to be saving up about $25 to $50 every month for that. And then in the specific months where I'm actually spending money for gifts, that's where you're going to see some negative numbers in my budget because, for example, in April, I know I'm going to be, again, saving $25 to go into that bucket, but I am going to be spending $50 from that bucket to use towards my gift. So you'll see a negative number there. Donations is working in a very similar fashion. I'm putting in money every single month, but then again, for example, in April, I'm going to be using $50. So putting in $20, taking away $50. So you see a negative $30 for that budget. Tax accountant fund. So I've been thinking about getting a tax accountant for us versus using what we always do every year, which is like TurboTax or, online tax filing, because we are moving across the country. We are potentially getting married this year. We're potentially going to get a joint bank account. So there's a lot of changes in our finances that are happening. So I am saving up some money so that we can invest it in a tax account that can take care of our taxes for us, because that is so important. And then long-term sinking funds really have to do with my goals that are longer than a year. So I have my house fund because I am saving up for a house someday. The amount that I'm putting into that house saving fund is going to be different every single month. And again, that's because my expenses are kind of fluctuating every month. But I would like to have a total of $9,000 to $10,000 saved in 2022 towards that fund. I already have about $16,000 to $17,000 saved up for that. The tech long-term sinking fund is really going to go towards a new camera in the future, and then new computer part purchases in the future as well. Vacation fund. So again, another fund that makes me feel sad because I know we're not going to be taking any major vacations in 2022, but I do want to take a major vacation either in 2024 or sometime around then. So I have started to put in around $200 a month for that. Not every month, but for a significant number of months. So hopefully I'm going to have $2,200 saved for that vacation at the end of the year. Last up in my long-term sinking funds is my emergency fund. So I did budget $0 every month that I'm going to be putting towards my emergency fund because I do have a fully saved up emergency fund as it is. I just left this on here because if there is any extra money at the end of every month, I'm going to kind of put it into the emergency fund if possible, because ideally when you move to San Diego, obviously your expenses are going to go up. So I would like to have a little bit more saved up in my emergency fund, but I'm still at a pretty good number, so I'm not going to specifically budget for it right now. So right now, all of my investment accounts actually sit with Fidelity. So I have a 401k account from my previous employer with Fidelity. My Roth IRA is opened up through them, and then I have a brokerage account opened up through Fidelity as well. With my new employer, I will be having a Prudential 401k account opened up pretty soon for that. So starting in April, that's when you'll see that I am budgeting to put in money to my Roth 401k account through my employer. And it's only starting in April and not immediately because my company actually has a rule that you have to wait, I think it's 3 months before you start contributing to your 401k. So it is what it is. I will start contributing in April, even though I would totally start contributing ASAP if I could. For my Roth IRA, I'm actually contributing a lot in January and February, and I'm hoping to have my total $6,000 for my Roth IRA put into that account by the end of February. So you'll see I'm contributing $4,300 this month for that. Because really, when it comes to Roth IRA, I like to get it over with at the very beginning of the year if possible, so that I don't give myself any other excuses not to fully contribute. So in 2022, you can only contribute $6,000 towards it. So by February, after contributing another $1,700, I would have fully invested in my Roth IRA. And then when it comes to stock investments, I was very bad in 2021 with contributing monthly to my brokerage account. So I'm going to start off very slow, I know, and only contribute $50 a month to my brokerage account just to see how that really feels to me. I want to eventually be contributing a lot more, believe me. But because of this whole move to San Diego, I just kind of want to play it safe and keep a little bit more cash to myself and to my checking account just in case we need to do anything with that money. So there you go, $50 to my stock investments. So it is getting late, and I'm sure this video is already far too long, so I'm going to go over my summary tab very quickly. So ideally, with all of your income coming in, minus all of your expenses, and then minus all of that money that you're putting towards your savings goals, ideally that would end you with $0 at the end of every month. This is called a zero-based budget, which I definitely appreciate and am striving towards, but I am still not there yet. So it kind of almost looks like I'm losing money in all of those months and only making back some money in March and October, where in reality, yes, by the end of January, if I only factor in the income that I made in January, the expenses I'm taking out in January, and the savings that I'm taking out in January, I will be in the negative $974. But the thing is, at the beginning of January, I started off with my checking account around $4,000. So by the end of January, I'm projecting that I will be closer to $3,100 in my checking account. And that'll go on month after month. And it looks like by the end of December, I will only have about $1,200 in my checking account, which is totally fine because I will have made all of my savings goals. I would have had money to spend on all of my expenses. So obviously this is an area where I really kind of need to figure out my budget a little bit more. And I'm hoping throughout 2022, I can get to that zero balance a little bit better, or maybe this will help me in 2023 to build a better budget. If you have any advice for me, please let me know down in the comments how I can really get to that zero-based budgeting. And if you have any other questions, please let me know down below as well. Again, I just really hope that this maybe inspires you to take a look at your finances a little bit more deeply, figure out what you're really spending month after month and what you want to be saving month after month. Again, I am super lucky. I do not have any debt. I actually had my parents pay for half of my college, and then I paid for the other half with all of the money that I got working from high school through college. I don't have any credit card debt. I'm not on the line for a car lease or anything like that. So in terms of debt, I am doing really well and much better than a lot of Americans. So I know that I am super privileged when it comes to that. But if you are in debt or you want to really start thinking about those savings goals for your future, I hope that this inspires you even just a little to just write down some of your goals and start to keep track of those expenses month to month. Feel free to reach out to me on YouTube in the comments below, or even on Instagram if you have any other questions or if you need help personally. I would love to do that. And thanks again for watching. As always, I really appreciate your support and I hope you learned something new today. Stay tuned for more personal finance, DIY, and probably a lot of moving vlogs. So don't forget to subscribe for that and give this video a quick like. Have an amazing day, you guys.